This is an instructional video on how to use the extrusion molder in the PET lab made by Nathaniel Nudelman and Scott Meyer. First main safety thing with this is to use hot gloves at all times because the barrel will get very, very hot, the die will get very, very hot, and the plastic coming out of it will also be very, very hot. First thing you want to do when approaching the machine is you want to flip the switches for the temperatures. This will turn the machine on and start the heating process up. It will also start this fan here, which will take all the noxious fumes from the plastic away from the area. Each of these zones takes a while to heat up, so you want to make sure to start it early to cut down on as much time of the process as possible. Today we'll be using polypropylene regrind. We'll be keeping our temperatures about 400 degrees today to create the optimum viscosity for the plastics. What we're going to do is we're going to take these dials, move them up to around 400 degrees, and that will allow each of the zones to heat up to the desired temperatures. Next thing we want to do is we're going to turn on the water that will fill up the basin over here that will allow the part to cool as it moves through the system. First thing we're going to do, we're going to flip this switch, and then we use this switch down here to control the flow of the water. Once we get the ideal flow that we want, we can see that it will come out of here, fill up this basin to allow for proper cooling of the part as it moves through the system. So it's necessary to move the water around in the basin, make sure it covers the whole area. Next step, we'll adjust these 3 rollers so that as the part exits the machine, it will go over the first one, under the second one, over the third one, and then through this machine. We need to adjust the rollers, unscrew these pins from both sides. You can then lift the whole roller system out, decide which hole you want it to be in for the relative position, and then place the system back on and screw the pins back in. This machine will create a steady flow. Once the part reaches in here, it will continue to pull it through, allowing for a uniform cross section as you make your part. To control the speed, you use this dial to choose which speed you want. Then you must turn on this switch to turn on the machine, and then this switch to run the machine. And then it begins to run. Once the machine starts to heat up, you want to grab yourself a pair of hot gloves from the desk near the rotational molding machine. These will keep your hands safe as you're handling the die and the part as it comes out of the machine. This is the wall of dies that we have for the extrusion machine. Choose the appropriate one for the shape of the part that you want. Once you've chosen the die that you want, you need to take off the old die. Make sure to wear your hot gloves as the die that is on the machine already will be very hot. You're going to use a hex key to unscrew each of the screws on the die individually. Once you've chosen the die that you're going to use for your part, you want to screw it back on same way that you took the old one off. Get it started initially with your fingers, then use the hex key to finish screwing it in to expose your fingers to as little heat as possible. You want to have this guide about 1 to 2 inches from the end of the nozzle to provide for adequate spacing for the part to go through it. Even though we're not using PVC today, if you are, make sure none of your temperatures go above 410 degrees, otherwise the PVC will degrade and release toxic gas. Once your temperatures have reached the appropriate range, you will open up this and use this black start button to start the machine. Once you've begun extruding, you want to use your needle nose pliers to guide the part through the guide. This will allow for immediate cooling. You'll then keep guiding it over the first roller. You want to make sure to keep a constant pace. Do not stretch out or back up the part. You then go underneath the second roller, over the third one. Once you have fed your piece through each of the rollers, you are going to feed it through this machine at the back. It'll come out the other end, and it will keep it going at a constant speed to keep the uniform cross-section of your part. This is an example of a small piece of a part we were able to make, uniform cross-section in the shape that we wanted it in. Now that we are done making parts, we're going to press the stop button right next to the start one, turn off all the heaters. Once you've turned the heaters off, you're turning off the water flow to the guide, turn off the water. You want to clean out any little plastic pieces that are left in the basin. Get it completely clear. And the basin will drain itself. Throw away all the scrap you don't need. Make sure to put away all the tools you use in the correct positions. Return the dies left out back to the board. And return your hot gloves to the drawer that you got them from.